Have you ever closed the screen and just stood there? Still, feeling a strange silence inside you? It's not guilt. It's not shame. It's that emptiness that comes afterward. A space that, no matter how hard we try to fill, never lasts long. Truth is, almost no one taught us how to explore our sexuality in a healthy way. We learned to hide it. And pornography ended up becoming the secret teacher. It offers a quick release, a momentary relief, but over time, pleasure begins to feel distant, as if it were something you watch but don't experience. Today, I want to show you real, human, and profound ways to reconnect with your desire. Paths that restore presence, intimacy, and truth to your life. Stay with me until the end, because after this video, you may never look at pleasure the same way again. There's a kind of silence that isn't peace, it's absence. It comes right after a quick, almost mechanical pleasure that seems enough in the OV. Moment ... but leaves a taste of incompleteness. It's not guilt, it's not shame. It's a strange echo, as if something is missing and you can't quite name it. Pornography often disguises itself as a response. It offers something immediate, tailored to be irresistible, like a visual dish served in seconds. And yes, the body reacts. But the mind feels something isn't quite right. It's as if the skin has lived, but the heart has been left. When we become accustomed to this cycle, the brain begins to register a dangerous message. I need more to feel the same. This is when the incessant search for increasingly intense, explicit, and rapid stimuli, and paradoxically, less satisfying emerges. That emptiness that remains afterward isn't a flaw. It's a sign that what you're receiving isn't nourishing your essence. It's like drinking salt water. It quenches your thirst for a moment, but deep down, it only deepens your dehydration. Ignoring this signal is allowing pleasure to become an anesthetic, not an encounter. It's exchanging depth for surface. It's teaching the body that a screen is enough to simulate something it actually wants to experience. And here's the most important point. Recognizing this emptiness is an act of strength, not weakness. It's like hearing the whisper of something you've tried to silence for so long. I want more. I want what's real. And it's in that moment that the first opportunity for change arises. The human brain is a master of adaptation. When something intense happens, it registers. This is important. But when that something is repeated too often, it loses its impact, and the brain, always hungry for novelty, begins to crave more. It's like turning up the volume to experience the same song that once gave you goosebumps from the first chord. Pornography works precisely on this mechanism. It delivers rapid doses of arousal, with visual stimuli so potent they override the natural timing of desire. There's no pause, no mystery, no build-up, just the now, packaged for immediate consumption. At first, it seems harmless, a curiosity, a distraction, a just today. But the brain adapts to this new speed, and suddenly, what is real, a touch, a look, a moment of true intimacy seems too slow. That's when what should be pleasure begins to turn into apathy. The problem is that true intimacy thrives on slowness. It feeds on suspense, the weight of the gaze, the shiver that lingers. And when you condition your body to respond only to quick and exaggerated stimuli, you lose patience for what truly builds connection. Over time, this rush creates a subtle disconnect. You react to the stimulus, but you don't connect with the experience. It's like eating without tasting it, running without taking in the scenery, kissing without remembering its texture. The body is there, but the soul ... is left outside. This is the real theft. It's not about morality, religion, or judgment. It's about a silent hijacking of your ability to feel fully. It's exchanging depth for repetition, encounter for staging, life for simulacrum. And the good news, which you may not have realized yet, is that this process can be reversed. But to do so, you need to slow down. You need to relearn how to inhabit your own body. You need to trade faster for more truthful. There's a moment when you realize you don't miss porn, you miss feeling. Missing looking at someone and getting that genuine thrill. Missing losing yourself in touch without thinking about how it should feel. Letting time dissolve as your body responds spontaneously. This genuine desire isn't manufactured. It doesn't follow a script. It's not controlled by perfect angles or quick cuts. It's born of small things. The exchange of glances that lasts a second too long. The heat that rises unhurriedly through the body. The silence filled with anticipation. What the screen promises in minutes, life delivers more intensely, but it demands presence. And that's where transformation lies. When you start seeking less immediate impact and more the construction of something that grows within you. It's like relearning a language you once spoke but forgot. At first, the words sound strange, patience seems short, and the urge to return to the shortcut is strong. But little by little, fluency returns. The body understands. The mind follows suit. And the pleasure ceases to be just a peak and becomes a journey. When you reclaim that genuine desire, you discover that sexuality isn't just about releasing tension, it's about creating connection. And that connection, when it's real, doesn't end with orgasm. It leaves traces, memories, a feeling of fulfillment that lasts much longer than a few seconds. And the most surprising thing is that by abandoning artificial stimulation, you lose. Nothing you gain space for experiences that are more vivid, more complete, and more yours. To rebuild your sexuality away from screens. You need to create small rituals that keep your body and mind aligned. It's not about following rigid rules, but about offering yourself experiences that genuinely activate your senses. Start by slowing down. Set aside moments throughout the day to simply feel your body, not to perform or achieve a goal, but to notice how it responds to touch, breathing, and movement. This can be as simple as closing your eyes for a few minutes, inhaling deeply, and noticing the texture of the air moving across your skin. Explore your senses creatively. Put on music that evokes emotions, experiment with different temperatures with your hands, or allow yourself to smell something that calms or excites you. When you stimulate your sense of smell, touch, hearing, and even taste, you're training your brain to associate pleasure with real presence, not artificial stimuli. Another important step is to develop a more intimate relationship with your imagination. Instead of searching for ready-made images, mentally construct your own scenarios. Imagine dialogues, gestures, textures, rhythms. Your mind is capable of creating experiences far richer than any canvas, and when you immerse yourself in them, you strengthen the connection between desire and creativity. If you're in a relationship, suggest moments of exploration that aren't immediately focused on sex. This could be a mutual massage, an improvised dance, or a game of intimate questions. These practices reduce performance pressure and increase complicity. And if you're alone, remember, intimacy isn't exclusive to two people. It starts with how you touch, respect, and listen to each other. Creating a safe space within yourself is the foundation for a healthy and genuine connection when you do. This reconnection is like planting a garden. At first, it requires patience and consistency. But over time, what once seemed distant begins to blossom, and you discover that the most intense pleasure is the one that grows from within. No one builds a new relationship with their sexuality without stumbling along the way. There will be days when curiosity, loneliness, or even boredom will push you back into old habits. This doesn't mean you've failed. It means you're human. The most common mistake is to turn a relapse into a final sentence. It's giving in and saying to yourself, I've already messed up, so whatever. But this thought is exactly what fuels the cycle you want to break. Change isn't a straight line. It's a movement full of curves, pauses, and restarts. When you slip up, stop. Take a deep breath. Ask yourself, what was I feeling before this? Maybe it was anxiety, loneliness, stress. Recognizing the root cause is more important than judging. The act. This is when you train your brain to understand that it doesn't need punishment, but understanding. Research on behavior change shows that the most powerful factor in maintaining progress is self-compassion. Treat yourself as you would a dear friend, with listening, patience, and encouragement. Instead of saying, "I failed," say, "I'm learning." This simple exchange of words changes your body chemistry, reducing shame and opening the door for better choices next time. Relapses are also information. They reveal which triggers still hold sway over you. Maybe it's the time, the place, or the feeling of emptiness after a stressful day. Noting these patterns helps you create new routes. Going for a walk, listening to music, talking to someone, or simply changing your environment. Remember, every time you return to your chosen path, even after straying, you are reinforcing your decision to take care of yourself. Victory doesn't lie in never falling, but in not letting a fall define who you are. And little by little, you will notice that the relapses become more spaced out, less intense, until one day you look back and realize that you no longer need them to feel alive. Healthy sexuality doesn't happen by chance. It's cultivated, nurtured, and protected with intention. It's like a garden. You choose what to plant, what to let grow, and what to prune for its beauty to flourish. Exploring your sexuality consciously means trading haste for presence. It's feeling the touch of fabric on your skin, the weight of your breath, the warmth that spreads without the need for excessive stimulation. It's being fully in the moment, without worrying about performance or appearance. Pornography often conditions us to seek quick, intense, and predictable stimuli. But real life is unpredictable, slow, and full of nuances. By training yourself to be mindful of your own body, you discover pleasures that don't fit into scripts, pleasures that don't depend on ready-made images, but on your unique sensitivity. Practicing this mindfulness can begin with small experiences. A long shower, feeling the water fall like a hug. A gentle touch without rushing to reach a goal. Listening to your own breath and letting it guide the rhythm of the moment. These details are not trivial. They are gateways to deeper intimacy. If you're with a partner, this approach changes everything. The focus shifts from what we're going to do to how we're going to feel together. Connection grows not only through physical contact, but through the safe space created when both allow themselves to be present, vulnerable, and curious. And if you're single, this awareness is equally valuable. It teaches you that your sexuality isn't something that needs external validation. It's your territory, where you set the rules, timing, and intensity. Gradually, you realize that pleasure stops being just a peak of excitement and becomes a broader state of well-being. A satisfaction that doesn't disappear when the screen goes dark, but remains because it comes from within. And here's the powerful truth. The more you practice this presence, the more your body and mind learn that they don't need shortcuts to feel alive. What you feel is real. It's yours, and no one can take it away. The hardest part for those who decide to quit pornography isn't the lack of stimulation. It's the silence that follows. A silence that, at first, feels cold, uncomfortable, almost suffocating. It's in this space that many feel the urge to return, not because they want to, but because they don't know what to do with the emptiness. This emptiness is treacherous. It whispers that you're losing something, when in fact it's the opposite. You're reclaiming space for what truly matters. It's like clearing out a room full of clutter at first. Everything feels strange, but soon you realize that this is where you can build something new. The key is to change how you view this silence. Instead of treating it as an enemy, See it as a teacher. It's revealing the lack of presence, connection, and meaning that was previously masked by instantaneous stimuli. Transforming this emptiness into strength begins with small, conscious choices. Filling your time with something that genuinely awakens your body and mind. It could be a light jog at dawn, a deep breathing workout, or a creative hobby you've always had on the back burner. The important thing is that it's something that makes you feel alive without having to disconnect from yourself. Over time, you realize that this inner space is fertile. It can harbor new forms of pleasure, intimacy, and even purpose. It's here that self-confidence grows, because you learn that you can sustain your own well-being without external crutches. And then, that silence that once hurt begins to feel like freedom. It's no longer a hole to be filled, but your territory. You decide what goes in, what stays, and what never again finds its place. When you reach this point, pornography stops being tempting, not because you force yourself to avoid it, but because you've found something more valuable, the feeling of being whole, awake, and in control of your own story. When you walk away from pornography, the desire doesn't disappear, it just needs to relearn how to breathe. For a long time, your body and brain have been trained to respond to rapid, edited, and unrealistic stimuli. It's as if your sensitivity has been calibrated for exaggeration. Rebuilding desire naturally is like relearning how to savor food after years of eating ultra-processed foods. At first, the subtle flavors may seem muted, but little by little, your taste buds return, and with them, a wealth of nuances that previously went unnoticed. Start by allowing yourself to feel without rushing. Genuine desire arises from connection, and connection requires time, attention, and presence. This means that small gestures, lingering glances, intimate conversations, and unpretentious touches can be more powerful than any explicit scene. The key is to trade artificial intensity for real depth, to trade performance for surrender. Instead of chasing quick peaks, learn to value the path to pleasure, because it's on this path that intimacy grows. Your body will naturally respond differently. Arousal ceases to be a purely visual trigger and begins to involve all the senses: smell, heat, the sound of breathing, the energy present in the moment. This process also strengthens emotional security. Desire stops being just about what you want to feel and starts to encompass how you want to feel safe, seen, accepted. And this shift completely transforms how you experience your sexuality. Over time, you realize it's not just about not watching porn. It's about making room for a more authentic, richer, and more connected sex life. A sexuality that doesn't depend on a click, but on presence, truth, and surrender. And when that happens, pleasure stops being just physical. It becomes an experience that nourishes the mind, body, and soul. Your imagination is probably the most powerful erotic resource you possess. And best of all, it's entirely yours. It doesn't depend on the internet, isn't limited by scripts, and doesn't need to adapt to external expectations. The problem is that, with constant pornography use, this internal space often becomes atrophied. The mind becomes accustomed to receiving ready-made images and loses the habit of creating. It's like a muscle that has been inactive for too long. Rebuilding your relationship with your imagination is like daydreaming again. Start by exploring memories that sparked desire in the past, not to relive the scene exactly as it was, but to reconnect with the sensations it evoked. Allow yourself to create inner stories, blending elements that attract you with feelings that make you feel good. This can include romance, intimacy, vulnerability, or even play and fantasy. The important thing is that it's something that respects your limits and reflects your values. This practice activates areas of the brain linked to creativity, emotion, and effective memory, making pleasure less mechanical and more profound. Unlike external images, internal fantasy is shaped by what you truly want and need in that moment. Furthermore, using your imagination as a tool for arousal is a powerful way to reconnect with your body. Instead of reacting to external stimuli, you begin to respond to what you feel, to what you construct internally. And over time, this autonomy creates a liberating effect. You no longer depend on something outside of yourself to feel desire. Your sexuality returns to your hands, literally and metaphorically. In the end, healthy imagination is more than eroticism, it's self-knowledge. It's looking within and discovering that you have so much more to offer yourself than any video could. Ever delivered. True pleasure isn't born solely from physical stimulation. It flourishes when there's fertile emotional ground, where safety, trust, and vulnerability can coexist. In pornography, emotional connection is often lacking. Everything is built for performance, for visual impact, not for authentic exchange. This conditions the brain to associate desire with the superficial and instantaneous, leaving little room for depth. In real relationships, whether with another person or with oneself, pleasure takes on a different texture when it's rooted in connection. This is because when we feel emotionally safe, the body relaxes, the mind opens, and excitement flows naturally, without the pressure to deliver or achieve something. Emotional connection is also presence. It's being there in the moment, attentive to reactions, gestures, and the small signs that demonstrate reciprocity. It's feeling seen and seeing the other. It's a silent dialogue between bodies that requires no script. And here's the most transformative point. The more you invest in the quality of this connection, the less need you feel to seek artificial stimuli to replace what you're not receiving. Pleasure ceases to be a goal to be achieved and becomes a natural consequence of intimacy. This change doesn't happen overnight. It requires patience, openness, and often the deconstruction of long-held beliefs about how desire should work. But over time, the rewards are enormous. You discover that pleasure isn't just about intensity, but about depth. Ultimately, it's this depth that fuels positive emotional memory, creating a healthy cycle where desire and affection reinforce each other, something no screen can replicate. We live in a fast-paced world where everything is immediate, including pleasure. Pornography reinforces this logic. Quick stimulation, quick response, quick end. But the human body wasn't designed just for instant highs. It also needs time to explore, perceive, and deepen sensations. When you slow down, you give your brain and body the opportunity to shift from automatic to conscious mode. Every touch, every breath, every change in skin temperature takes on greater meaning. It's not just what happens physically, but how it reverberates internally. Slowing down also allows us to notice nuances that would normally go unnoticed. Shiver that creeps up your neck, the heat that slowly spreads, the pause that intensifies anticipation. These small things, which seem simple, actually activate deep brain circuits linked to pleasure and emotional connection. Furthermore, this slower pace reduces the pressure to perform. When there's no internal timer telling you, I need to get there soon, the journey becomes more important than the destination. And paradoxically, it's precisely this lack of rush that often leads to more intense and lasting experiences. Practicing slowing down can be uncomfortable at first, especially if you're used to fast, predictable stimuli. But with consistency, this practice retrains your mind to find pleasure in the presence, not just the end goal. Ultimately, slowing down is an act of self-respect, a way of telling your body and mind, I'm not here just to consume pleasure. I'm here to experience it fully. The human mind is one of the largest sexual organs in existence. Even before any physical stimulation, it is the imagination that ignites the spark of desire. And unlike the ready-made images delivered by pornography, conscious fantasy is an infinite territory, shaped solely by your experiences, memories, and curiosity. When you choose to create your own mental stories, you're taking on the role of author of your pleasure. There are no repetitive scripts, forced angles, or artificial sounds. There's only the narrative you construct at your own pace, with details that truly matter to you. Research shows that when we imagine, we activate areas of the brain linked not only to pleasure, but also to creativity and effective memory. This means that conscious fantasy can combine physical arousal with emotional meaning, creating much richer and more lasting experiences. Another benefit is emotional freedom. In fantasy, there are no external judgments or standards to follow. You can experiment, change scenery, and explore different aspects of yourself without needing anyone's validation. Practicing this type of imagination isn't just about sex, about reconnecting with your autonomy and remembering that pleasure is something that originates within you. The more you invest in this practice, the less dependent you become on external stimuli to feel arousal and connection. Ultimately, conscious fantasy is an exercise in freedom. It gives you back control over your intimacy and opens up a space for a truer, more human, and more personal pleasure. The deepest pleasure lies not only in what we see, but in what we feel. When you begin to explore your body mindfully, you discover that every inch is a territory rich in sensations and stories. The skin, the body's largest organ, is a field of receptors that respond to heat, cold, pressure, and the lightest touch. By slowing down and allowing yourself to feel, you transform the intimate act into a dialogue between you and your own body. This isn't about performance or reaching a quick goal. It's about noticing how your chest expands when you take a deep breath, how a touch on the shoulder can ignite a current of warmth, how the sound of your own sigh can be an invitation to go even deeper. This sensory connection restores something pornography often steals: presence. It replaces haste with curiosity, automaticity with awareness. And when the body realizes it's being heard, truly heard, it responds with more intense, sustained, and much more meaningful pleasure. This practice also strengthens the mind-body bond, helping you recognize subtle cues of arousal and relaxation. Over time, you learn to intuitively guide your own experience, finding pleasure in even the simplest gestures. By turning your body into a map of discovery, you realize you don't need external scripts to feel alive. Pleasure is there, waiting for attention, presence, and care. True desire isn't born solely from touch, but from the feeling of being seen, heard, and accepted exactly as you are. Emotional intimacy is the fertile ground where pleasure deepens and gains new dimensions. When you connect emotionally with a partner or with yourself, every gesture carries meaning. Every look becomes a silent invitation, every word spoken in the right tone warms you from within. This layer of connection goes beyond immediate arousal. It awakens security, trust, and surrender. That's why a lingering hug, a genuine smile, or an intimate conversation can often ignite the body in a way no image could. When there's an openness to vulnerability, pleasure ceases to be merely physical and becomes a meeting of shared stories, memories, and expectations. By cultivating emotional intimacy, you create a space where there's no fear of judgment and where the rhythm is set by connection, not pressure. This allows pleasure to become more organic, more authentic, and often more intense. Understanding that pleasure is as much emotional as it is physical is an essential step toward freeing yourself from artificial patterns and feeling fully again. After all, when the heart is engaged, even silence can be exciting. You are not a prisoner of the experiences, habits, or patterns that have shaped how you experience your sexuality to date. What happened before may have created an automatic path, but it is not an inevitable destiny. Rewriting your sexual story means assuming the role of author, not just character. Creating chapters that represent what you truly want to feel, experience, And share. This process begins with conscious choices, small ones at first, but which, over time, build a new pattern. It might be choosing presence over haste, curiosity over boredom, authenticity over performance. With each new decision, you send a message to your body and mind. We can do things differently. Rewriting is also unlearning. It's leaving behind distorted ideas about what pleasure, intimacy, or attraction are, and making room for new references, more aligned with who you are today. It's allowing yourself to experiment without guilt, without the need to conform to external scripts. Over time, this new narrative will no longer be an effort. It will become natural. It will be your way of living. And most importantly, it will be a reflection of your truth, a free, healthy sexuality that's deeply connected to you. Thank you for staying with me until the end of this video. Your presence here shows that you're committed to getting to know yourself better and building a healthier relationship with your sexuality. Every minute you invest in yourself is a powerful step toward transforming not only your habits, but also the way you see and feel about yourself. If this content made you reflect or offer new perspectives, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so you don't miss any future videos. Leave a like as it helps spread this message to others who also need to hear it. And now, continue this journey by watching the other videos on the channel. Each one is an invitation to deepen your self-knowledge and live with greater presence, freedom, and truth. You deserve to write a story that's all yours.